back when we first went on the air, we went on the air in 1961, and after a couple of years, we really needed some help. And I hadn't really asked anybody for help, but we needed it because we were struggling and hardly could, pay the bills, pay the electric bills, pay the payroll for a few people that were here. And I came up with the idea. I would hope it was given to me by the Lord that if we had, our total budget was $7,000 a month. It wasn't very elaborate, and if we had 700 people who would give $10 a month, that we would have our budget met. So that seemed a reasonable figure. We only need 700 people, and so in 1963 we went on with what we call the 700 Club Telethon, and spent a weekend, I guess, asking people to help, and we got the massive total of 333 donors at $10. So we were short. The next year we came back on about sometime in November with the same concept and asked for help, and we got a few more, maybe 400 or 500, but we still didn't meet the 700 that we were looking for. And then in 1965, we had our goal had risen a little bit more. I think we needed at that time $100,000 total, which would, give or take, $8,000 or $10,000 a month. And something unusual happened about Sunday night when we were about ready to go off the air. People began to call in. They said, "Look, we can't go to sleep. God's dealing with us. We've got to give money to this station to keep it going." And the phones began to ring and calls began to flood in. It was just extraordinary. People were calling spontaneously, and we were on the air till, good grief, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and these phones were ringing. So we made our goal that night, which was the first time, but because it was so unusual, the next day people began to call up. One woman said, "I don't know what's happening, but I feel the presence of God so strongly that I'm walking softly in my own home because of your radio station that's coming into my home." Another woman said she went to school. She was a school teacher, and a friend said, "There's something in the air. What's happening?" And we knew that this was what looked like the beginning of a spiritual renewal, but we didn't quite know what to do with it. So we went back on and asked for some help, maybe to increase our facility a little bit. This was, again, 65. And one of our, the wife of our production manager said, "The Lord has showed me that we're going to be flooded with disease and sickness." And I thought, "Oh, that's all I need is, to get sick." But on Wednesday night, we said, "Look, we'll pray for your needs. If you have spiritual needs, we'll be glad to pray for them." And these phones, we didn't have many. We had maybe four phones, and these women were answering the phones, and suddenly the phones lit up, and we were just swamped with people's problems. And this television went on from like 6 o'clock till midnight, and we prayed solid for people, and we just read these prayer requests, prayed, asked God to heal them, and one after the other, people all over this area were having miraculous healings. It was just extraordinary. On Thursday, the newspaper called and said, "What's happening over there? Is this the second coming of Christ?" And we said, "No, this is not the second coming, but this is revival." And it was absolutely amazing, hour after hour after hour, and it was the most arresting television you can imagine. People were glued to their sets; they couldn't tune off. We were just really in the center of something extraordinary that God has touched us. Not only had we made our financial goal, but thousands of people were being touched. I think we got some extra money to build something, but that wasn't what was important. And on Friday, I was scheduled to go to London for a conference over there, meeting that was being held in London, and so I reluctantly had to sign off. I was so hoarse I could hardly talk because we'd been on the air that long, and so we stopped. And then we knew something extraordinary had happened, and the next year, we waited a year, and we said, "Well, let's do it again. And lo and behold, not only did we get a flood of money, but we had the same thing happening. We had all kinds of miracles happening. I mean, really extraordinary miracles. I remember one instance that a child had a birth defect on his face, and as this we prayed, his grandmother said it was like a hand went over his waist and just wiped it clean. It was like the skin, changed. And people, their little child, his feet were twisted and his legs went straight. And it was that kind of thing that was going on. People were being knocked back off their telephones. These little Baptist women were praying on the phones, and the people at the other end were literally like hit with a bolt of lightning and falling back on the telephones. There was something. So we had another year, and then the following year it was thought, look, let's just not have this once a year. Let's call this a 700 Club program, and so we picked the 700 Club, like 007 James Bond, and it had kind of a mod sound, but to those who'd been experiencing this revival, they knew that it would be the symbol of this revival. So we called it a program of prayer and praise, and we had it open-ended. We would begin the program at 10 o'clock, and it would stay on as long as we wanted to. We could sign it off at 11, we could sign it off at 1 a.m. It didn't really matter, because it was our station. We could do what we wanted to do with it. And so we had prayer and praise, and people began to call in and ask for prayer. Since that time, I might add, we've had 63 million telephone calls for prayer at various places across the United States of America. And this has been the foundational program that has taken the CBN around the world, because we're meeting people's needs. It's interactive television, so we're broadcasting to them. They're calling back to us, telling us their needs. We're praying for them and helping us. They're giving us answer to prayer, and it's been an amazing thing. So,
but it all started out as a telethon.
So to raise money
on an annual basis, which was about what year did you say?
Well, it started in '63, but the revival took place in '65.
And then what year did the actual
67.
Evening. Was it every evening?
Yeah, it was every evening. It was
7 days a week?
Well, I think it was probably either 5 or 6 days a week, maybe Monday through Friday. I forget right now. I don't think we went on the weekends. But that was how it started. That the 700 Club telethon morphed into the 700 Club program, and we're still doing it. And in America, right as we speak, we have about 17 million viewers a month in the United States to that program. So it touched a basic need that people have, to have somebody talk to them and not only pray with them. Of course, we used to have music, and then we switched from music to news. So we have news, and we've tweaked the program quite a lot since that time. But that was the format. It was intercessors praying for the needs of people in our audience.